This film is beyond any of my expectations. It's amazing.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie, and I totally just got to see Loki the Dark World. I mean, wait, no, Thor the Dark World. And there is just so much to talk about between new Marvel projects as well as the next two Avengers movies. So first I'll do favorite moments, then I'll do my review, and then I'll talk about all the big things that are coming for Marvel in the next couple of movies. Don't worry, I'll give a nice big warning before I talk about spoilers. So you should really go into this movie thinking about it like Marvel Game of Thrones. That's right, Alan Taylor, the director, actually directed a lot of the best episodes of Game of Thrones before he did this movie. And one of the reasons they picked him is because they were really trying to bring this new aesthetic to the film. That's right, if you remember the first Thor film, they really depicted the Asgardians as like these alien beings. But in this movie, they're really more Norse. So that goes into the look of the film, the costumes, even the soundtrack, which was amazing. It will come as no surprise to anyone that Tom Hiddleston is the runaway star of this film. Obviously, I made that joke about it being Loki the Dark World. There are a lot of people calling for a Loki movie. I'll be doing a separate video about that. Be sure to subscribe to get it. But in this movie, you get this really deep emotional look at Loki that you've never gotten before. And it's largely due to Frigga's character, Rene Russo's character, his mother. Without giving away too many spoilers, their characters, you find out, has this really deep connection, and you find out that his mother actually taught him a lot of the awesome things that he can do. I was actually really surprised by how much I love Rene Russo's character in this film. Frigga is a total badass. Obviously, if you read the comic books, you know this, but most of us don't read Thor all the time. Odin, on the other hand, is actually not much of a presence in the film. I was actually kind of disappointed in his character. It's really just not quite as interesting as Frigga, Loki, or any of the other characters. Even Natalie Portman's character is a lot more interesting in this film. She is actually central to the plot in the film, which I was actually surprised by because that wasn't really a case in the first film. So surprise here, I did not hate Natalie Portman in the film. Chris Hemsworth is obviously a man of few words in the film. He actually does a pretty good job, but most of his best scenes are with Loki, obviously, just because the two of them work so well together. Most of their dialogue-heavy scenes, though, aren't that great. They actually take place during the big special effects sequences. Most of the scenes that I loved the most that they had together were when they were not fighting. One of the funniest moments in the film is actually a big spoiler, so I'll talk about that later in the video. Speaking of funny, Kat Dennings was actually one of the big surprises of this film. She actually brought most of the humor in addition to the Loki character, so don't be surprised if a lot of people are calling for them to have some sort of team up in a future project. But let's talk about the soundtrack. You can actually listen to it for free on Spotify right now, but I had to listen to it all the way back from the movie. It was so amazing. It really does sound a lot like Game of Thrones, although it was a different person that did the score for this film than did Game of Thrones. But one of the really interesting things about my experience of the film, I went to a sneak preview of the film, was that it was almost primarily a female audience. So obviously that gives you an idea for the demand for a Loki movie. Tom Hiddleston's Lady Army is strong and powerful. But what did I think of the film? Overall, I give it a solid B+ for its amazing sets and costume design, amazing soundtrack, amazing use of characters, and its sense of humor. That's right, it's one of the funniest Marvel films that I've seen so far. It's hard to compete with Shawarma, but this movie actually came really close. Like I said, it actually addressed a lot of complaints after the first Thor film. Natalie Portman's character becomes a much bigger part of the story, so it feels like she's necessary. The film is a lot funnier. A lot of the aspects of the Thor culture and the story of Thor are just a little bit ridiculous, and the film actually plays on that in a really funny way. I typically go to movies like this just expecting to have a good time, and the film totally delivered on that promise. But it also did a really good job of teeing up all the next Marvel movies that are coming, including Captain America the Winter Soldier, which is the next film coming in the spring, Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as Avengers 3. But in order to talk more about those, we'll have to do spoilers, so if you don't want to hear any spoilers, just turn the volume down. So one of the funniest moments in the film was actually Tom Hiddleston changing characters. That's right, he can change his appearance. So he actually changed into Captain America in this really funny scene. So Chris Evans actually had a small cameo in the film, although it was obviously done in green screen. He wasn't there on set with them. We also learned from this Frigga, their mother was basically the one that taught Loki how to do this, taught him his magic. So obviously the end of the film kind of teases that Loki is still alive and going to be causing all kinds of mischief all over the Marvel Universe. We're not going to see him in Avengers 2, so we will see him in Avengers 3, though. That is probably when they'll bring him back. Darcy actually had a scene where she called S.H.I.E.L.D. and they weren't picking up. We actually learned why that is in Captain America the Winter Soldier. S.H.I.E.L.D. is in a really bad place right now. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is actually doing a Thor crossover in a couple weeks, and they'll kind of bridge the gap between those two films just a little bit. The next film after that is Guardians of the Galaxy, but the Infinity Stone is a teaser for Avengers 3. That's the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. That'll be when Thanos basically tries to assemble all the 6 Infinity Gems. It's basically going to take all of Phase 2 and Phase 3 to assemble all those Infinity Gems. There are 6 of them, and obviously it was really hard just to even get this one. I'll talk more about the other Avengers movies as well as the Infinity Gauntlet storyline in a separate video. Be sure to subscribe to get it. You can turn the volume back up now. Like I said, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing a Thor crossover with this movie. I actually do videos for that every week. Click here right now to learn more about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this season, and you can click here to watch my breakdown of the Captain America Winter Soldier trailer. So if you haven't seen the movie, go out and see it now. Thanks so much for watching. High five. See you guys tonight for Korra.
You face an enemy